Hi everybody, it's Peter Dills. You are watching Dining with Dills right here on KLCS, PBS TV for Los Angeles. Right now, I'm at the San Antonio Winery in downtown Los Angeles, established in 1917. They're coming up on a 100-year anniversary. Now, what makes this place so special? Well, 100 years, that makes it the longest producing winery in all of Los Angeles. We're going to take a tour. Of course, we're going to have a history lesson. And at the end, we're going to have some wine. We're going to taste some vino.
Back in 1917, my great uncle Santo Cambianica, right here, had a dream of starting a winery here in Los Angeles. You know, at one point, there used to be over 100 bonded wineries in the LA area. And, you know, he decided to just go for it.
You know, what you see today as San Antonio Winery was very, very different those many years ago. And we had a little corner location. We had a little, call it a local market. That's what we had.
And the San Antonio Winery started in this small little building right here, which is actually where we're standing today. This walkway is actually the walkway that you see here today. You know, he needed help, you know, with every businessman, you know, will admit that he always needs someone to help him. And he asked for his nephew and my grandpa, Stefano Riboli.
My story probably begins when I was about 5 years old. I just remember coming to work, and or I shouldn't say coming to work, we lived upstairs. We had a nice little 2-bedroom apartment above the winery, and I loved coming here with my brother, and my parents worked extremely hard, and we were part of a real traditional Italian family.
When I first came here from LA, my uncle, he just started this little winery. And it was 3 garages. It was right here, and it looked like a boxcar. Got it. See, the picture is on the wall. And then that's how we started.
We sold all kind of things, from chewing gum to snacks to whatever, but that's how we survived for so many years.
We were lucky enough to have a great clientele, and we, obviously when other wineries went out of business during Prohibition, we were lucky enough to stay in business by selling altar wine to the Sacramento one, 2 churches. Even so, we were no longer allowed to sell other types of alcohol, but because we contracted with so many churches in the area, we survived Prohibition while every other winery in the area went out of business.
We still have that ability and ambition to work and to keep excelling in this industry, which is very complicated now. We will have been here in the next year or so. We will have been here 100 years on this land. It's unusual to have any business last that long, and especially to be part of LA for all those years.
You know, my grandpa's a big component of always talking about this generation about community, you know, and how important community is to our growth. No matter how large we get, I think we always know where home is, and home is here. And the community is there to embrace us, and we're there to embrace the community.
Dad came when he was 16 and worked for the remaining Uncle Santo. 2-man operation, very simple business.
And that's how we started. So when I come here, the first thing he told me, don't do like the rest of the people that come to California. Because in California, everybody want to come in California because you don't have to work here. When you're here, you might have to work 5 days a week for sure to take care of yourself. You might have to work 6 or maybe 7 days. That was the thing that he told me the next day that I was here. So to me, I end up with 7 days. I end up.
They farmed in Chino. It's about 40 miles east of Los Angeles, and Dad met Mother. She was a farm girl, but a week after they're married, she came, and together they've worked together, I mean, literally 70 years worth of their lifetime. And they've been just great companions together. You know, one would say one thing and the other said, why not? And that's how life was, and they've done very, very well together.
During the, I'd say, 60s, Mom had this vision of providing food for our employees. So in 1972, we developed sandwiches, a little sandwich counter, where our gift shop is now. That time, we had a cold box. It was a Hussman. We sold mortadella sandwiches and salami sandwiches to our employees. So that way they had a place to eat and they didn't have to bring their lunch boxes anymore. And we could see that we needed to grow and we wanted to do better. So we expanded the restaurant in 1976. We expanded again in 1985. Some days there are as many as 400 to 500 people for lunch.
In 1963, we were actually under eminent domain here. We were the last of wineries at that time. And the city, the reason there's so much of this land now is absent of any residential homes in these 100 acres here. We're on 20 acres. There's another 80. This used to be all residential homes, mainly homes of Italian community and the Hispanic community, Latin community. And in those years, from 1960 to 63, the railroad, the city of LA pretty much acquired most of this land for the good of the public, and the public then was the railroad. Okay. And we were pretty much scheduled to go, to be sold, and that was kind of it as far as having a winery in Los Angeles. But in those years, those early years, the Cultural Historic Board started up in Los Angeles, and they kind of earmarked us and others as types of businesses and experiences which should remain in the city. And the city left us alone. It was kind of a godsend. And from that point forward, we really excelled. So what you see today, the restaurant, the way the look, the expansion of the winery, all our vineyards in the north, our new wineries in Paso Robles, all that has been kind of a culmination of those years, but it kind of started in 1963 because we felt, well, if you have a home, you could do whatever you wish and move forward.
Today, it's just a fantastic time in our company and frankly in the industry in general. We're catering to a wide, diversified group of customers. Our wine platforms are quite diverse as well. We take tremendous pride in our varietal categories under 7 different brands that we control and own and produce. So we're a very unique family in that we have close to 700 acres of vineyards. These vineyards are planted in we consider some of the most pristine agricultural areas in California, in Paso Robles, in this town of Templeton, in Monterey, in the Arroyo Seco of Monterey, as well as Santa Lucia in the Highlands, and a beautiful little boutique vineyard that we have in Rutherford in the Napa Valley. All of this land really gives San Antonio Winery and the Riboli family wines its signature. Many award winners have come out of this company in its history. The family produces in California about 75 to 80% of our business is Big Reds, and it's what we're known for. We've always been known for Big Red wines, and it's the future that we see in our continuation. Unique style reds, whether they'd be single wines, Cabernet Sauvignons, Pinot Noirs, Petit Syrahs, but also in very unique red blends. We're proud of the wines, we're proud of where we're going. We're a sales organization. We always start our meetings off with, yes, we're in the wine business, but we're in the sales business, and how do we market our wines? And that's what, frankly, occupies a tremendous amount of my time personally is how are we going to get the consumer to understand us, to know us, to taste us, to be loyal to us? And it just comes with good, strong marketing, a lot of luck, and frankly, putting the right product in the bottle.
We all start working at a very young age. And with that, we even started working at the lowest level jobs. I don't mean lowest in terms of like quality, but all the starting level jobs are where we started. We worked in the tasting room, we've worked on the bottling line, we've worked in the warehouse, we've worked outside in the sales field, we've cleaned the toilets, and we've done pretty much every single role that you can do here, because that's really what's important to the family, is understanding the company from a top-down role. But for the most part, it's actually really comfortable. And I think that's the most important word to use when talking about having a family business, is the comfort factor there, because you have that security and you always have that support behind you. No matter what you do, they will support your decision. If you make a bad decision, yeah, they'll be upset with you, but they will still support you and they'll be there to help pick up the pieces. But luckily, that hasn't really happened with us, you know, starting with my grandfather and up through my father, my uncle, and my aunt, and even with my cousins and my sister and I, we've really got a good support structure here. We're always there for each other, and even if we need help in a role that we're not doing, we're always there to take over and help them with that. And we really get that family aspect working here with the company. I always like to say that the winery is not a company, the winery is our family, because we really associate well with this place. This is where we come and we are with our family every single day.
I got 7 barrels of wine at over 50 gallons apiece. We're going to talk to Anthony Ribley. He's the winemaker here at the San Antonio Winery, and he's going to give us all the details. We've met many of the family members. Right now, we're going to talk to Anthony Ribley. He is the 4th generation winemaker for San Antonio Winery, Madalena, and all the other wines that they make. And I'm just curious, because you know my ultimate goal for this tour is to end up at the tasting room to try all of your wonderful wines, but you had mentioned to me that I have to learn how the wines are made before we get that reward.
That's right. No reward yet, Peter. We need to, our anticipation is still building. So welcome to the back of the winery, to the production area where the journey really begins. And so first we start with picking the grapes in the vineyard. And many people think, oh, it's easy, you just go in and pick those grapes and it's done and no problem, and that's the process. Well, that's not the truth. The truth is, as a winemaker, we are constantly tasting those grapes to make sure that the flavors and the aromas are really optimized prior to picking. And so that involves a lot of time traveling to the vineyards. For example, our Chardonnay in Monterey, we're visiting at least once a week to see how that flavor is developing. And when it's time to pick, we then say, okay, let's get the crews out here. We are hand picking typically. Let's get this fruit in as quickly as possible, which again preserves those natural flavors and all that wonderful aroma. And then we're going to pick those grapes, drive them to the winery in Paso Robles, and then we're going to de-juice those grapes. And by that, we are going to actually remove that juice from the seeds and the skins in order to now have the raw material to begin the fermentation.
Okay, so we're in a room here, and it's pretty cold, and I've got a stainless steel tank, I've got wooden tanks, and then I've got oak barrel tanks. Tell us about how and why different barrels are used for storage.
So the process, going back to the Chardonnay, that process can be done several ways. We have the stainless steel tanks here, which really are the state-of-the-art, the typical vessel used for fermentation. They each have their own temperature control. So as you mentioned, temperature, that's why it's cold. Not only is it ambient temperature cold here, but the tanks are kept cold. Heat is one of the worst enemies of wine, whether it's aging it in your house, in the bottle, or in its raw, immature state. And so we want a cool environment. It's very important, consistent environment. These tanks here are redwood. So for many, many years in the industry, redwood was the common material here in California. And this entire facility was redwood at one time. Now, unfortunately, redwood has kind of become passé. You don't have the temperature control, but they are beautiful. So these 6 we've kept as part of our heritage, of course. But stainless steel and oak barrels. So oak barrels, we'll walk through. We'll see some of these 60-gallon oak barrels. They're a very important part of the aging process and also giving oak flavor to the wine.
Okay, so I figured it out. I got it. You bring down the juice here to Los Angeles, but there's more to it. Now we've got to get it in the bottle. We've got to get it in the boxes. We've got to get it on the truck, and we've got to get it out to the supermarkets and to all of the restaurants.
That's right. So the process has just begun. So we're going to ferment that juice by adding yeast in a temperature-controlled tank, and that fermentation may take a month or so, sometimes longer. Then we're going to age, in this case Chardonnay, in the barrels, and that could take up to 8 months. So it's a patient process. And then once that's done, myself and my co-winemaker will taste those different wines, make sure the blend is the best it can be. Then we'll filter the wine in preparation for bottling, And then that day becomes real, the birthday of the wine, the bottling.
Are we going to be able to at least show people how we're going to get that wine into the bottle?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, let's go do that.
Okay. Okay, Peter, so here we are. We're on the bottling line. We're seeing the wine filling into the bottles. They're being labeled here on the line, coming down, inspected to make sure that label looks great. They've been corked. They look fantastic. We got the guys put them into the boxes, getting them on the pallets ready to go so that they can ship right to your favorite restaurant for immediate consumption. What a journey.
It's making me thirsty. You think that barrels have been around for a long time? How about boxes? Just think about how many boxes go through the winery here every single day. All right, Anthony has told me there's 2 different ways to close a bottle of wine. There's the cork, and now a lot of wineries are using the screw top. Yeah, you remember the screw top? This is a bag full of corks. So Anthony just told me that there's a tanker that has just come up to the winery with a tank full of juice. So let's find out a little bit more about that.
So Peter, you asked me how do we get this juice from the winery in Paso Robles to our winery here in downtown Los Angeles. So we just happen to have a tanker truck right here today, and these are sanitary tankers. You may have seen many of them on the highway and thought they were milk.
I did. I thought it was milk.
Guess what? A lot of them have juice in them. So these are insulated, refrigerated tankers that preserve the cold temperature again to preserve that freshness and the aromas of that juice as it makes its way down from Paso Robles here to Los Angeles, and we begin the fermentation process.
Anthony, how many gallons are in one of these tanks?
Typically, each one's about 2,500 gallons. So that's around 1,000 cases of wine in each compartment.
1,000 cases, 12,000 bottles of wine.
There you go. There you
Barrels of wine, cases of wine. Well, there's only one way it's going to get to your favorite restaurant or supermarket. He's got to put it on the truck with his forklift. Mission complete. I can hear the truck on. It's all ready to go. You know, I was going to use the forklift myself, but Anthony wanted to see my union card.
So Peter, now as we've seen the juice come into the winery, we've seen the bottling process, and here's our truck loaded up, ready to go with bottled cases to your favorite local restaurant for everyone to enjoy. So there are many tasting rooms here in California, Peter, as you know, and we're very fortunate to be one of the oldest, and we're unique in that we're here in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. And we want people to have a really comfortable, fun experience. That's what wine's all about. Wine is about friends, cheers, and the fun of family and friends all together. And so I like to teach people, first thing, you want to smell the wine, really get your nose in there. And this wine is our San Simeon Viognier. You get a lot of really great pineapple, kind of tropical characters, a little bit of apricot. Then you go for a first sip. Just a little sip. Get a little lychee, some more of that apricot character. And so we want people to feel comfortable. That's the key. Too many tasting rooms, they intimidate. They make people feel insignificant. They don't feel knowledgeable. Wine is very complicated. No one knows all the answers, not even me, not even sommeliers. But we all want to share our passion. And that's what we want to do here. As a family business, share our passion and have people enjoy wine.
We'll leave the complication to you.
Thank you. Cheers again. Chin chin. One of the important things in wine tasting, of course, is safety. So we want people to be safe and not drink and drive. And so one of the most important things is this is what we call a spit bucket. And you can spit in it if you just want to taste. Or if you don't want to finish your glass, you're more than welcome to go right ahead and pour it in. Even if the wine is fantastic, we want everyone to be safe out there on the streets. So we're going to try a red blend from Paso Robles. This is under our opaque label, and it's called the Darkness. And so it's a big dark red wine. And one of the most important things is blending as a winemaker. It's truly part of the art. So winemaking is science and art, but blending is truly the art. And experience teaches you how to be a better blender and a better winemaker. So this wine actually is a blend of Zinfandel, Cabernet, Syrah, Grenache, Petit Syrah, and Petit Verdot. So you have a whole different mix of grapes, and they all contribute different flavors that ultimately create the most complex wine. So go ahead and take a sip. And what I love about this wine is it's really soft. It doesn't have the hard tannin. So people always ask me, what's tannin? So tannin's kind of that grip on your tongue, almost like a sandpaper. And tannins are natural. They occur in the skins and the seeds of the grapes. But we've tried to use techniques in the winery that really create a soft palate, so the tannins are really soft. And that's what people love, especially about this wine. It's so approachable, easy to drink. It can go with many different foods. And red wines are very popular today. One of the main reasons is the health benefits. You know, we're always hearing about red wine and health. And whenever people come to visit us, typically my grandparents are here. They come in almost every day. They're in their 90s. And people ask, well, why are they so strong and in such great shape? And one reason, hard work. The other reason is the red wine. Chin chin.
Well, that's a wrap. Our first show, Dining with Dills, right here on PBS Television Los Angeles, KLCS. If you want to support the show, by all means, we'd really appreciate it. Go to our website, klcs.org.